Peace and power, family. How is everyone doing? My name is Alima Njai, aka Lili La Poete Speaks. Welcome to the RAM Book Club, Resurgence of the African Mind, where we seek to uplift African minds by reading one unit of work at a time. What we are starting with, of course, you know, heavy duty. This is the work right here, Blueprint for Black Power, family. We're going to start off strong. We've been going hard. Today we are going to be doing chapter 7 and chapter 8. Last week we talked about power and personality. We learned about how we can use personality as a social instrument and also how to reconstruct the African personality. Chapter 7 touches on class, race, and power. We're going to learn about social classes and class conflict, as well as preparing for power and the white power elite structure. Chapter 7 is real heavy.
Yes, it is.
Chapter 8. Now, chapter 8, it seemed like even heavier. We learned so much about business, the power processes of the ruling class, the process of U.S. domination, special interest groups, lobbyists. I mean, we really get into it. So once again, my name is Lili La Poete Speaks. You can find the links to the RAM Book Club as well as the YouTube discussion links on my page every Sunday at LELELAPOETE speaks.com, or you can find them at Deanna Bailey on Facebook. And once again, I'm Lili La Poete, and let's let the panel introduce themselves.
All right, peace and power, family. My name is Dr. Deanna Bailey, also known or called Dr. Oya. I'm the co-founder of Ed Anime Productions, which is a company that creates educational materials for children. If you want to check out my material or support the company, please visit edanimeproductions.com or simply go to Google and type in Meltrek in the search engine, and our website will come up. I'm also an adjunct professor over at Morgan State University. I teach wireless communications, digital communications, and next semester I'll be teaching signals and systems at the School of Engineering at Morgan State University. And I'm also the co-founder of Higher Minds Academy, which is an African-centered academy that will be opening on October the 7th in the Park Heights area in Baltimore City.
Nice.
Brother Andre, AKA representing Paul Robeson. Peace to the ancestor. Just a student willing to learn.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Brother Travis. Brother Travis, you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Peace. This is Brother Travis from Detroit. I'm an IT professional here, local in Detroit here. Part of study groups that we study the comedic science, the Medionateur. I also build websites and do a lot of Facebook marketing here in the Detroit area. Peace.
All right. All right. Y'all ready to shake?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to shake. This was a heavy chapter. I mean, I had to read a couple of things, you know, a few times, just to make sure that I had the proper understanding of what our ancestor was trying to convey, the material that he was trying to convey. And but you know, a lot of it, I wasn't surprised. Like when I read this, I wasn't surprised. I mean, he really gets into who controls America, and I believe drives home the point that America is, he called it a nation within a nation, actually a white nation within a nation. And he said that this nation is ruled by white male elite. And this is, you know, it wasn't anything, you know, new. I can't say that I learned new things in this particular chapter, but I believe that he just drove home who's in charge and who runs America, who creates policy for America, who influences, who creates, and also who influences policies in America.
I appreciate the data that he gave, the statistics. There was a lot of statistics in this chapter. There's a lot of data that it's like you would think that on the surface, but to see those numbers, and this was back in the 80s and 90s that he's given this data. So imagine what it is now.
Oh man.
I have to get that data. I'm going to have that data for our next show so I can compare just how much their power, yes, has increased from then till now, because it was really interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, looking at the data is just like you said, we knew it, but just seeing the numbers, you know, it kind of it kind of, you know, kind of and reinforce the point. I'm over here looking right now, and never mind, let's get into it because I'm already kind of like I'm looking at
exactly chapter 7. So Baba begins off and he defines social class for us, and he says that social class simply refers to all individuals who occupy a broadly similar category. Social class may be defined as functionally in terms of divisions of labor, such as division deemed necessary for maintaining structural and functional well-being of a society. So he's just saying the social classes are what makes the society run, basically. He goes on to say the social class can be defined as the outcome of ongoing social competition and conflict between individuals and groups over scarce resources, including property, income, wealth, power, and prestige. Between those who want to take possession of such resources or wish to see them more equitably shared or distributed, or who want opportunities to gain access to them equally open to all seekers. So he's saying that social class is something that's often fought for. We're all fighting for resources, but he says that it's a scarce amount of resources because if you remember that the small group at the top controls everything. So us down at the bottom, we're fighting for the scraps. And it's funny how we blame one another for certain things and how people want to point the finger at those that are on welfare or those that may make a little less. But if we really, after really reading this, we learn that the people who get the most welfare are the rich.
Are the rich. Isn't that something, sis?
Amazing.
Yes, he said there's a welfareism between the government and the wealthy. Like they get, you know, but we're going to get into it, sis.
We're going to get into it.
Yes,
okay.
So like you said,
it says class conflict may ensue. However, when higher ranked classes are perceived by the have-nots as having gained and as maintaining their positions by immoral means at the expense of other classes, as seeking greedily to expand their possession and control of social resources and products, as seeking to monopolize social and material resources while depriving the others of their rightfully and necessary share of them, as seeking to protect their position in society and to confer their advantages of their descendants exclusively, as self-serving, restricting occupational opportunity and social mobility by using various forms of political, economic, and physical oppression. So he's saying that this is how class conflicts may ensue in accordance to die. Sis, you want to touch on anything else? I definitely have the next paragraph highlighted.
Yeah, I have. Oh, you have the next one. You have the
ethnicity.
Oh, I have. I'm on. I have page. I'm on page 138. I have the American Society's superordinate race and classes. So where are you? Did you have something before then?
I was just looking under social class and ethnicity, where he states that the United States is a nation state. And he said it contains within its well-defined borders a fairly large and concentrated multiracial population whose conduct, institutions, and economy are regulated by a recognized central government. It is a pluralistic society where wealth, income, property, authority, prestige, privilege, and power are markedly and unevenly distributed according to race or ethnicity.
The social class standing. Okay. So I just highlighted what you had. So then he goes on to say that the American society's superordinate race and classes are people by whites of mostly Western European descent, right? Mm-hmm. It is most subordinate race and classes are people by blacks of mostly Western African descent. Decisive governmental and social political powers are centered in the white race, especially in a relatively small, virtually all white male, generally a hereditary elite. So that goes back to us saying, sis, that America is controlled by a white male and all white male elite, right?
And then you notice you say hereditary elite.
So this is
related.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is passed down from this power, these resources, power and prestige, the know-how, the knowledge, all of this stuff gets passed down from generation to generation. All right. Then he goes on to say that the predominance of white power, or more accurately, of white corporate elite class power, all right, white corporate elite class power is maintained by the backing of the centralized authority of the U.S. federal government, whose authority itself is backed by the military, paramilitary, and coercive power it has at its disposal. The use of governmental power is legitimated by a generally accepted social culture, mythologicized ideology designed to justify the class, racial status quo. So sis, I was thinking, when I read this paragraph, I couldn't help but to think of families like the Bushes, right? Remember, he went over there to get the oil from like the Middle East, and they used the military. He said he accused Saddam Hussein of having weapons of mass destruction. They went over there, killed everybody, and they never found weapons of mass destruction, might I add. But this is just an example to demonstrate that they used the military for their financial gain. They wanted the oil, they wanted the resources at the end of the day. And so this was a powerful, a rich family who was in the oil business, a white corporate, he defines it, he says a white corporate elite, a white corporate elite class, the Bushes, right? They belong to the white corporate elite class, and they utilize the military for their financial gain. That's and right. So when I looked at this, it's really the corporations that run the narrative.
Yeah, and I like how he broke down the how they intermarry, and also how from he used like early on, even through grade school, they are taught to believe that they are the elite, and how they those families intermarry, but also in particular how the people who are poor, who are the working class, the proletariats, they enforce their class system by going into the military, fighting and dying to maintain their status.
Exactly. Exactly. Everything that the poor does, they allow the poor to do so long as it benefits themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it says the unity at the bottom of 138, the unity of the elite rests on several factors. They said that people are recruited from the same upper social classes. They got the same education, wealth, upbringing. That makes sense. They continue to associate with people who have the same, which reinforces their feelings that they are, of course, indeed elite. They belong to certain clubs. They go to certain parties. They meet at certain resorts. They go to the same churches. They have the same donation. They donate to the same organizations. So this is how they further keep up the thought process that, okay, we are indeed elite because we're going to associate ourselves with elite people. I mean, which makes sense. You wouldn't associate yourselves with those you're trying to suppress. Absolutely. It says, I highlighted specifically, it said that their community of interest is far greater than any division that exists. So I found that interesting because it seemed like even though they could have differences overall, they understand that we're all in this because we're trying to maintain a certain level of power. We're trying to maintain a certain level of power that's going to be divvied down from one generation to the next. So let's put our petty differences aside. And that just made me think of African people and how our differences too often come into play, and we can't focus on the main goal at hand because of all of our differences.
That's right.
Very true, sis. Very true. So the elite say, hey, look, we need to put our differences aside to maintain our power. Maintaining our power is more important than the petty differences that we have here. And exactly like you said, in our community, we can't even put our egos aside to accomplish, a goal. So yeah, I mean, I have. Oh, go ahead, brother Travis, because I was getting.
And I totally agree with you saying, Oil, but it goes back to earlier how Dr. Amos broke down culture, meaning that what binds communities together, like we talked about early on, is how you talked about the Jewish culture. I talked about the Arab culture. They have a spiritual system, and they have a cultural institutions that that binds them together with a common interest.
Right.
Absolutely. So it's
we're too stuck in our feelings right through here.
That's right. That's facts.
I mean, we need to tell us. Hey, matter of fact, I had shared Dr. Maat's post on the whole issue of hair and how women are emulating the European women and this and that. And I mean, I had sisters, so-called strong conscious sisters, like, y'all need to quit trying to police the women and this and that and just worry about this issue at hand. And I'm like, first of all, it's not a personal attack. You need to understand what I'm talking about. It's a deeper psychological issue that I was addressing
Exactly.
based on her post. But and I saw a sister. We had to talk on the phone a day. This is how upset and offended she was, and I had to straighten her out. I said,
Uh-oh.
you know, you get caught. You know, some stuff we just need to be like, okay, look, this is our standard. This is what we're going.
We lost you, brother.
To far away from that.
Okay, there he goes. You were cutting out a little bit at the end, but I agree with you completely, brother. And we oftentimes we take things personally. We don't understand that we're trying to get people to see things as a whole. Like, it's not just about you, it's about us. And I think the more we recognize that, the less offended people would be when they would just overstand instead of taking it personally. We're about to get into the statistics. I get excited when we talk about statistics. And we learned that in January 1991, the Census Bureau reported that the typical white household was 10 times wealthier than the typical black household. During the last decade and a half, the richest 1% of American families achieved the largest gains in prosperity. 3/4 of the increase of pre-tax income went to the wealthiest 666,000 families out of 66 million. So can you imagine that? There's like 660 something thousand people who accumulated for more wealth than 66 million. Is that unequally distributed or what?
Absolutely. And my brother who's on the panel, T.
Yeah, sister, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fine, bro. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. Doing fantastic.
Hey, that brings to mind. Remember, you were showing me an article. Could you give the title of that article if you can find it? If it's actually, you showed me an article that stated that for every $1 that we have today, whites have $12. What's the name of that article so we can?
This is a Washington Post article written by Mr. Michael A. Fletcher, 2014, that stated that white people have $13 for every $1 held by Black America. And that just tells you how households, the wealth of our households. If you look at demos.org, it shows that whites hold 90% of the wealth of the nation, and we have 2%. The average African American family is worth $1,700. That's without the car or the couch, and have less than $500 in savings. Average white family without a college education has a household worth of $13,000, the median of $350,000 of net worth compared to our lowly $1,700. Forbes just had an article written out a week ago that stated that African Americans will be worth zero in 2050.
Wow.
And that's zero.
Wow.
So when it comes down to the equal of wealth in this country, remember we were written out for about 400 years. We only have 50 years on the mark.
That's
so
true.
We have some work to do, and the ancestor put it eloquently in this chapter how it was done.
Yes, those numbers.
Jim Crow.
So we have to look at that. And that article was written by James Larty. The article about the median wealth of the Black family will fall to zero by 2053.
Wow.
That's 36 years approximately around that time. So we have some work to do, family.
And I also believe that the Atlantic Star published an article that stated that Black people, in order to close the wealth gap between Blacks and whites, that it would take us about 200 and some odd years. Did any of you read our article?
I remember that. I remember that.
200 and what, T?
Around 250 years.
About 250.
It would take the ages around 80 years. And that's only if white people's wealth stands still.
Right. I'm actually looking for it online. Goodness.
I think I have that article.
200.
And yet on the flip side, The interesting thing about those statistics is that although we may have like a 50-something year, I guess since we've started actually becoming to amass a certain amount of wealth, we have a spending power in this country, if I'm not mistaken. Last year was $1.3 trillion, $1 billion. It was something outrageous like that African Americans spend consumer-wise. So if we had a communal mindset and the mindset to organize and pull our resources together that white people did, it would not take us 250 years. I promise you that. They're nowhere near it. But it'll take 250 years at the pace that we're going. But we actually have more wealth than we realize. We really do. We have more collective wealth as opposed to individually.
Well, sister, that study was done by a matter of fact, a teacher, a professor at Morgan State, and it's $1.3 trillion. 1.3 power. 1.3 trillion, and he made a point which we need to evaluate, to study, is that even though we have $1.3 trillion of spending, that is from our pay. What the numbers I gave you were from the assets, the wealth, the land, the profit.
Correct.
So we have to change, even though we have the consumer, the money coming in from our jobs.
Correct.
We lack that asset building influence that the ancestor talked about in chapter 7, which will close that gap.
And that's what I'm talking about, brother. I'm saying that if we can afford to spend as a people, 1.3 trillion, we can put that money in places where we would see it in future generations. We just don't know where to put our money at. We're overly consumed with being consumers. We've never taught to save. We were never taught about generational wealth. We weren't taught about the importance of it. And I think that's because for so long we were kept out. So once we finally got in, it was just like, man, just let me get in.
Right.
More about the rest later. Just let me get in.
Just let me get in.
Right.
Absolutely. So I found an article on money.cnn.com. I put the link in our group.
Okay.
I'll put the link. If someone could share that in the chat, that would be cool. Let me, go here. Yeah, someone could click it and share it in the group. But it says that blacks will take hundreds of years to catch up to white wealth. This is on CNN Money. It says if current trends persist, it will take 228 years for black families to accumulate the same amount of wealth as whites, according to a report. Oh man, I don't know what this is. It was an ad that just popped up. According to wealth as whites, according to a report released last week from the Corporation of Economic Development Institute for Policy Studies. It says for Latino families, it will take 84 years. Wow. It says over the past 30 years, the average household wealth of white families has grown 85% to $656,000, while that of blacks has climbed just 27,000 to 85,000, and Latinos 69% to $98,000.
Wow.
Okay, so it says we're seeing wealth concentrating in fewer and fewer hands, and those hands are overwhelmingly white.
Yes.
Indeed.
All right, sis. Yeah, so we can move on, sis. I think you read the statistics at the bottom, how the 1%, the top 1%,
yes,
more than you already read that stat, right?
Right. Now, I'm not gonna read all of them, but yeah, by 89, they said the top 1% was worth more than the 84 million.
Wow.
Other Americans, and that includes poor whites too, as well.
Right. And so I'm on page 140.
Okay, all right.
Where it says the hugely increasing wealth. Okay, where it says the hugely increasing wealth of the wealthiest families in America is not merely the result of salary and earnings increases in the value of money and capital market instruments, property holding, and reduced federal taxes, but it is also the result, and I had this underlined, it is also the result of federal entitlement spending, federal benefit payments to individuals. right? So then he goes on to report, he says, as reported by The Atlantic in 1992, I don't know why I keep getting this message. As reported by The Atlantic, April 1992, only 1 of every 8 federal benefit dollars actually reaches Americans in poverty. It says it further reported that the most affluent Americans actually collect more from the welfare state than do the poorest Americans. I want to say that again. It was further reported that the most affluent Americans actually collect more from the welfare state than do the poorest Americans. All right. So I had that highlighted, and I couldn't help, Sister Alima, but to think about and Brother Khalid Muhammad. Am I frozen or is it just me? Like it looks like
you are. Your face is frozen.
But you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just going to have to be frozen. I don't know why everything is frozen. Let me kill some stuff, but I don't want to kill the Hangout. But it just, you know, I couldn't help but to think about what Brother Khalid Muhammad or Dr. Khalid Muhammad stated on when he was on the Donahue show back in the early 90s.
I think we just lost her. Sis? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe she'll come back in a second. We'll give her a second to pop up. Brother, what did you want to say?
Okay, I got this is complimenting what we're talking about. Can you hear me well? Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh, slightly.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
All right. How about now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Check this out. This is Blacks Have Been in America that I have called How White Folks Got Rich. I don't know if you have heard that. The Untold Story of American White Supremacy. It said Blacks have been in America longer than Blacks. Can you hear me?
No, you're breaking up so bad.
You know what? I'm not gonna read then. I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all finish. I don't wanna.
Now it's
go ahead.
clear. Okay.
That was clear.
I'm gonna try to text Dr. Maat in a minute, see if she can get back on. So it says 1/2, at least 400 billion of all entitlements went to households with incomes over 30,000. 1/4, at least 200 billion went to households with incomes over 50,000. At the bottom of 140, he talks about looting, and he says that basically that the rich have been looting from the poor. But he says that the paradox is that the poorer classes, including Blacks, seem to approve of being exploited by the reigning elite, because for some reason we don't necessarily understand the whole welfare state. We don't understand entitlements. We don't understand bailouts. We don't understand that terminology and what it actually means, because I didn't for a while either. I didn't really know what a bailout was, but in essence it is. It's welfare from the government. That's what it is. And it is paid for by the taxpayers. So it's welfare. And the rich have been getting those type of bailouts and things like that since their corporations and everything have been in existence.
Absolutely right.
It says that the paradox is that Black America, while complaining of oppression and exploitation by white America, has not consolidated its own considerable resources and reorganized its community so as to revolutionize its power relationship with white America and end its subordination to that community. So that goes back to what we were just talking about, that even though we complain about the fact that we are exploited, we actuality are in the position to where we could rearrange our resources, pool our resources together, get some organizations set up, and do some things that will actually benefit Black people, because we do have that power, but if only we were to recognize it.
Absolutely.
How you doing, Sister Camille?
I'm all right.
Wow, sis, I don't know what's going on. Oh my goodness, I don't know what's going on. I was going in like the Jewish community, and then everybody on the panel, like everybody froze. So look, I said, wait a minute, let me grab my cell phone. I said, let me grab my cell phone. I'm just gonna have to improvise with my cell phone. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, well, at least your lighting is better.
Yeah. But I just wanted to add that, I just wanted to drive home the point, sis, that, that it's the wealthy folks, the affluent Americans who get more, they benefit more from welfare than we do. So people criticize folks for getting food stamps and getting on social services, but it is the wealthy that receive more federal entitlements than we do.
Exactly.
And it made me think of Dr. Khalid Muhammad. I remember he put this out on the Donahue show. He was saying that the Jewish community gets billions of dollars annually dumped into their community. So we look around and we wonder why they're able to build up their communities. They get billions of dollars put into their communities each year, even though the Holocaust didn't occur on this soil.
That's right. Obama gave
So,
26 million.
That's right. Yes, he did.
Obama gave who? He gave the Jewish people
13.6. And they get $60 billion since they started getting money. So they've been getting money, and we wonder why they got so rich. They've been getting help.
That's right. Every year, like clockwork.
Every year, like clockwork.
Just like the Asians as well.
You're right.